Oh, it feels so good to be back. You know what? We streamed last week, but it feels like it's been a month since I've been doing a live show. So I'm very happy to be back on our Tuesday edition. And we have a lot to talk about. What are our expectations for the San Francisco 49ers? The media is wilding out right now when it comes to the 49ers quarterbacks and where they rank Purdy and what they think of Trey Lance. So we have a lot to discuss, and Sunil and I are going to do just that next. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And as I said, it's Tuesday, so I got my guy, So Real, Sunil in the building. What's up, Sunil?
Man, you were out in the dungeon last time. Now it's just me in the dungeon. You have the nice setup and everything. So same Tuesday, different background.
Yeah, well, I had to break out of prison there. It was Prison Break. Ever see that show? That was me. I was in prison last week, and now I'm out. A lot of really funny comments came from that. I definitely enjoyed the chat there for sure. Let's say what's up to the chat. We got Swan Song in here. Let's see who else. We got Kieran. We got YG, JM617. We got Moa Family. Let's go. We got a chat full of people. Let's get it rocking. All right. First thing to talk about 49ers expectations. And to me, this came to mind because the 49ers schedule release, or the NFL schedule release rather, is going to be on Thursday, including the 49ers. Their schedule will also be released. And with that, strength of schedule has already been released and talked about. And the 49ers ranked number 15th in the league from a strength of schedule standpoint. However, when you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they have the toughest schedule on paper going into the season in the whole NFL. So it got me thinking, what are the expectations for the San Francisco 49ers? What would we be happy with as fans knowing these things going into it? Obviously, the Eagles are like the number one foe for the San Francisco 49ers. That is the biggest hurdle to clear. But they have a really tough schedule on paper, and the 49ers not so much. So win-wise, or just how far the 49ers get, what would you be okay with as a fan coming out of this season?
So this is an interesting question because you framed it like it matters the difficulty of schedule, how 49er fans are going to feel about what the success of this team is, right? I don't think it matters if the 49ers have the toughest schedule or they end up with the easiest schedule. It's Super Bowl or bust with this team at this point, right? I don't think, barring ridiculous injuries like what happened, last year in the NFC Championship game, where we have 0 quarterbacks to play in the NFC Championship game. At that point, okay, maybe, it's still really disappointing, but based off of what this roster is, I don't care who's behind at center, whether it's Trey, Darnold, or Purdy. This is a Super Bowl or bust team right now. So if there's a starting caliber quarterback behind center, this team needs to win a Super Bowl, or it's not a failure of a season, but those are my expectations, like Super Bowl or bust.
Yeah, to me, the reason that I framed them together is because that's where my line of thinking is. It's like, okay, well, I think in order to get to the Super Bowl, to give themselves the best chance to get there, they're going to have to finally wrap up the number 1 seed. And so when I look at Philadelphia, who is probably the team to beat in the NFC, if that holds true, and it's always tough. We don't know. Strength of schedule preseason is very different than what it ends up being a lot of the time.
Right.
But if that were to hold true and Philadelphia were to have the toughest schedule in the NFC or the whole NFL, and the 49ers were kind of mid-tier, I would expect that the 49ers go into the playoffs with that number 1 seed. And I think that is going to give them the best chance to walk away with a potential Super Bowl victory. And so for me, it's not just about getting to the Super Bowl and winning, although no matter how that happens, that would be fantastic. But I think we got to put some expectations on the regular season as well. if they are to win a Super Bowl, getting that number 1 seed is very important. And I think, not starting out slow is going to be very important. We'll see what that schedule actually ends up being. They may start out really tough. They might have to play Philadelphia right away. Maybe they start out on the road against like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh. That's a tough way to start. So we'll see if they start slow again. But I would say my expectation is get out to a fast start, contend for that number 1 seed, put yourself in the best position to go out and try to win a Super Bowl, and then go win that Super Bowl. It's time to bring home the trophy. None of this, hey, we were the second best team for the 5th out of 6 years, and going back the last 12 years, we were the second best team 7 years, or whatever that ends up being. It's time to actually seal the deal. So I think 49ers fans' expectations, to your point, regardless of who's under center, whether it's Purdy, Lance, or Darnold, 49ers have told us that, hey, the quarterback doesn't really matter as long as we've got a starting caliber one, and we believe in all 3 of these guys. Okay, well, if you have one of them under center through the end of the season, then you better go out and win a Super Bowl. So I think that should be the expectation. Now, obviously, we'll see how it goes. To your point, if a major injury happens at the very last second, not much you can do about that. And we can talk about that, and we'll be realistic. At this point going into the season, we should have Super Bowl or bust expectations. I think that's totally fair.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of. I'm glad you came to that point, because I was like, here's Jesse being Jesse again, like over here saying, what are your expectations of the team? Going here and softballing these answers and like, well, depending on who they start out with, it's going to change the fact that, at the end of the day, Jesse, let's be real. It doesn't matter if they start off on the road for the first 8 games of the season. Like, this is Super Bowl or bust. Like, at the end of the day, I don't care if they're the 1st seed. I don't care if they're the 7th seed. They better get all the way to the Super Bowl and win that at this point, with all of the talent that they have on the roster, everything that they've done, everything that they haven't done, Jesse, because we think that they could have done more if they felt like, this wasn't a Super Bowl caliber team quite yet. So for me, that's it. And there's no doubt in my mind that that's the same thing that the coaching staff, the players on the team, and the front office believe as well. Like, it's Super Bowl and I'll say it, man, Super Bowl or failure. I was trying to hold back because my boy Giannis told me that, look, there's no such thing as failures in sports. And, I respect the hell out of that king. But it is Super Bowl or bust, Super Bowl or failure, man. If the 49ers don't do it, barring an injury to the quarterback, and that goes for any other injury on the team. Christian McCaffrey gets injured, it's still Super Bowl or bust. Nick Bosa gets injured, it's still Super Bowl, but they've been able to get so much talent at every other position that as long as they have a starting caliber quarterback back there, they should be able to win this Super Bowl regardless of who else is left on the roster at that point.
Yeah, most definitely. And other teams are going to deal with injuries as well. It's not like the 49ers are going to be unique in that scenario. Other teams are going to deal with injuries. 49er Magic says, Jesse, are you going to the Jacksonville game again this year? I have a sneaky suspicion that game might be in London. Like, Jacksonville usually plays one overseas. The fact that they were just there, I don't know. We'll see. If it's in Jacksonville, I might. Although I got to admit, Jacksonville was kind of a crap hole. I don't know if I want to go there again. Sorry if you live in Jacksonville. I'm just being real. I do want to go see another stadium. I've never been to Levi's, though, either. So I might actually make my way out to Santa Clara and go see a home game as well. It all depends on where the games are and when they are. Like that's the big, like, time of year is going to be crucial. And then, like, where they fall in the schedule, that's going to be crucial. There's also, like, when I go watch the 49ers, or if I'm going to go spend money on a game, I also want to see good opposing players, like players that excite me to go see. Last year, I really wanted to see Kansas City. I wanted to see Patrick Mahomes. That ended up not happening. I ended up going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Ravens game here locally so that my son could get his first experience of an NFL game. That was fun. I got to see Tom Brady in his final season. I got to see Lamar Jackson. So I want to see good players against the 49ers. So I might end up in Philly. We'll see. I think that there's a lot of good players to see on top of the San Francisco 49ers. So
I thought I read something that – sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, you're good.
I thought I read something where the 49ers wouldn't be going to overseas this year. I think it had something to do with the way, I don't know if it was Mayoko or somebody put it out that they'll probably not, because they're going to be doing some East Coast traveling quite a bit. So, but that Jacksonville game would fit all of that criteria that you're talking about. There's a lot of stars. Jacksonville is one of those teams that, they got Calvin Ridley now coming back. They, Etienne should be fully healthy. Obviously, they had some confidence going to the playoffs last season. That could be a team that has, playoff aspirations, maybe even championship aspirations as well.
Yeah, but I did they weren't near the same team, but I got to see Trevor Lawrence play. He would be like the main billing of a player I would want to see. I already saw him. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's close. That makes it easier. It's only a few hour drive. It'd be a lot cheaper.
You must really hate Jacksonville because you're really downplaying how good that game was probably going to be. You're like, yo, look, I'm not going back to Jacksonville. It doesn't matter who's there. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. Like, it don't matter. Like,
the Super Bowl.
I'm not going to that game. Yeah, I'm not going to that game because F Jacksonville.
No, that's really
that's Jesse right now.
But I was just there a couple years ago, so I want to see somewhere new. You know what I mean? I don't know. I think Steve-O's watching this over on your channel. He says 1,000 subs. Nice. Shout out to Steve-O Supremo.
Welcome back, Steve-O, man. We miss you, bro.
Yeah, he's in the chats quite a bit. He's fun. All right. 49ers, according to Bleacher Report, have the 6th best roster in the NFL. Let me go over the order that they gave out. They had the Chiefs number one roster in the NFL. They had the Eagles number 2. Okay. They had the Bills number 3, the Bengals 4, and the Cowboys 5. Then they had the 49ers as the 6th best roster. What are your thoughts on this?
You can tell that it's a quarterback heavy dependent thing, because to me, Kansas City having the best roster, like outside of Mahomes and Kelsey, who else on that offense are you like, this is a star? You know what I mean? I don't know. To me, that obviously Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league, so that's probably why they have the best roster. But I think by far Eagles have the best roster in the league, just on paper, based off of all the talent that they have there. 49ers being 6th, I mean, based off of the teams that you listed, knowing that a lot of these lists are going to be quarterback dependent, and the 49ers not knowing who that starting quarterback is quite yet, I could see that. And I mean, I think it's a feather in the cap of the 49ers that they're ranked so high without the quarterback being named, right? Whether the quarterback's Lance, Darnold, or Purdy, all of those quarterbacks, regardless of the quarterback, they're still ranked 6th. I mean, if any of those quarterbacks turn into, a top 10 quarterback, you're going to see the 49ers up at 1, year after year after year.
Yeah, I think that it should be a feather in their cap. That's great. But it also goes to show you how much, I mean, we know the league values really good quarterback play, but people outside of the inner bubble of the 49ers fandom also value elite quarterback play, because to me, Kansas City, you take Patrick Mahomes off that roster, I mean, is that even a top 15 roster? Let's be real. They lost one of their best pass rushers. They lost arguably their best offensive lineman. They lost their best receiver 2 seasons ago and then replaced him and lost that guy. Now they always draft well, and they've got contributors. They've got guys like Pacheco that are on their way up, and their draft last year ended up being really good. But just player for player, that team doesn't even hold a candle to the 49ers or the Eagles for that matter. I think the Eagles have the best roster in the NFL. If I was ranking this, I would put the Eagles there. I don't think the Bills have a better roster than the Bengals, Cowboys, or 49ers, to be frank. I mean, they have an elite quarterback. Everybody knows how I feel about Josh Allen, but outside of that, I mean, their team is not very good top to bottom.
Which team are you talking about right now?
The Bills? I don't think their team's very good either, top to bottom.
I mean, that defense has a lot of studs on it. Their offense, I think, did get better. You got obviously Josh Allen's there. You got Diggs there. They just brought over Damian Harris, who I think is a very underrated running back that used to be out there in New England. So I forget they drafted somebody too, but yeah, I mean, I think it's Eagles. I could see how the Cowboys are up there. I guess outside of Kansas City, I'm not too, worried about that list. And at the end of the day, look, it doesn't matter on paper who has the best team. It matters how the team plays and injuries and health and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not mad at it.
Is there a team not on this list that you would consider potentially
Out of those top six?
Or just a team not on the list that you would say, hey, maybe I would bump, not necessarily the 49ers, but just any one of these teams out and say, I don't know. I mean, maybe, you were talking about Jacksonville and how loaded they are. Like, to me, I look at the Chargers and say, I mean, I'd probably have the Chargers up here. They've got a squad.
Right. I think Jacksonville could be up on that list. Who else? Chargers, I agree with you.
Miami's not that far off, I don't think.
Yeah. Once again, I think Miami is based off of not knowing who the quarterback is, right? And they don't, but they have a lot of names on defense as well. So
yeah.
I mean, look, I think that those six, I think outside of the 49ers, who I think everybody just knows roster is stacked.
Yeah.
All of those, you're talking about some of the either the best quarterbacks in the league or most popular quarterbacks on the team. So it makes sense.
Jose Batista, you always throw me off with your Falcons logo, and you and I have some good back and forth. Usually, like on the videos afterwards, we'll talk in the comment section. And I think I know the story. It's like you coach a high school team, or your son plays for the Falcons in the high school or something like that. But when you first started commenting, I was really thrown off. I'm like, why is this Falcons fan? And I thought because we do the behind enemy lines during the season, we played the Falcons. I thought you came over from that and just were kind of supporting the family or the channel or whatever. I said family, supporting the channel. And but I guess you're a 49ers fan. So there you go. Jets do have a good roster. Jets gang, y'all have a good roster. I'm curious, Jets gang. Go ahead and throw your comments out. What do you expect? Because that division is really, that to me is the most interesting division of football. I don't know how to call it at this point. Obviously, we know the Bills are legit. Patriots are always going to be somewhat competitive. You've got Miami there, who had a great season until Tua had his issues. And now the Jets are coming on strong with Aaron Rodgers. I'm curious to see who you have winning that division. If you really think it's the Jets, why you think it's the Jets, and just how you think that division stacks out. It's going to be interesting over there in the NFC or AFC East, rather. That's going to be interesting.
Ravens are going to be interesting too.
Oh,
Ravens,
yeah.
I think have a lot of talent on that team too, especially on the defensive side. They got Lamar some weapons now, so we shall see. J.K. Dobbins should be fully healthy.
That's true.
So that team,
and they were winning that division. They were winning the AFC North before he went down. So do they beat out the Bengals, who are also good? The Steelers are always right there. There's some interesting things going on in the AFC. The NFC is pretty cut and dry. I feel like the AFC is all over the place. I could see 10 or 12 different teams make the playoffs. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. I can see why you would say that.
I mean, I think it's going to be interesting in the because it's so. I think there's a lot of parity in the NFC outside of the top tier of teams.
Yeah,
I think there's a bunch of teams that could make the playoffs in the NFC as well. Anybody from what is it? The NFC? Is it the South that has the Saints and Tampa Bay and Carolina, Atlanta? Outside of maybe Tampa, well, I don't know. Baker could probably do something with all that talent, but the Saints, how good are they going to be with Derek Carr? Carolina, how good are they going to be able to be with, getting a new quarterback and, that team there? And Atlanta has been stocking up on just pure talent, depending on how good that quarterback Ritter is going to be. It's going to be interesting, any of those teams, what's going to happen, how big of a jump is Justin Fields going to take? How good is Minnesota going to be? Like, it's really interesting, man. Outside of the Eagles and the 49ers and the Cowboys, and I would say Seattle as well has probably bona fide a spot there. All those other three spots are up for grabs. I could see a number of teams getting in there.
Yeah, I was just talking with Radford, who used to be the other half of this channel, about 2 hours ago. We were going through the Lions draft and how excited he was about that. And I gave him kind of some of my reasonings why I thought that they overdrafted in a couple spots, but Lions are right there. They're on the come
Right,
up. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I can't wait
right,
for this NFL season. This is why the NFL is so fun because there is so much parity. If at the end of the season, one of if I gave you the top 10 teams in the NFL and said, hey, this team is going to win the Super Bowl, you'd be like, okay, yeah, I could see it. Like if
right.
everything falls right, I could see it. Everybody, you're going to have your choice of who you think it's going to be. But I mean, ultimately, there's a lot of teams that legit compete will compete for a Super Bowl this year. It's going
For
to be a lot
sure,
of fun. And then the
for
Chiefs
sure.
are just going to win it because that's what they do. That's annoying. All right. Speaking of rankings, we were talking about team rankings. You were talking about regardless of quarterback earlier, the expectation is the 49ers should go to the Super Bowl. And CBS came out and ranked their quarterbacks throughout the NFL. And they ranked Brock Purdy as the 12th best quarterback in the NFL. I thought this was interesting. I'll give my thoughts on it in a second. But what are your thoughts overall when you saw this?
So I just saw the headline, or I saw other content creators talk about it. I didn't actually see the list. Can you list some quarterbacks that he was ranked above?
Mm. I think he was right behind Kirk Cousins. I think he was ahead
Okay,
of Dak. Let me
really?
see if I can find it. Yeah. CBS
So,
Sports QB rankings.
so the number 12 actually stands out to me in my mind, and it has everything to do with you, Jesse. Because when you've talked about when Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback here, and you talk, when all the conversation was around Jimmy Garoppolo, I remember that 12 being a number where you felt like Jimmy could be a top 12 quarterback, and if he was playing at the highest level, you could see him rank as high as 12 and as low as like 20 something, right?
Okay, hold on. I got the list.
Okay, go ahead.
So 10 was Deshaun Watson. 11 was Kirk Cousins. I was wrong. Dak Prescott was 9. 11 was Kirk Cousins. Brock Purdy was 12. Right behind him were Goff, Geno Smith, Daniel Jones, and Justin Fields.
Gotcha. So Justin Fields is up pretty high up there too. Top half?
Yeah.
What, 16, 15, 16?
16, yep. Even ahead of Tua and Matthew Stafford.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I think that Brock Purdy had obviously a magical season. He went undefeated in every game he played, every game he started where he was healthy. When you look at what he did and where it stacks up against the rest of the league, I believe that you can make a case for 12. And once again, because I remember you talking about Jimmy could be 12, I do think Brock Purdy season last year was better than any Jimmy Garoppolo season that he had for the 49ers. So 12 is absolutely, I don't think, out of the realm. Now, it's yet to be seen if he could, if it was flash in the pan, or is he going to continue to be that, not only just from the league getting to know him more and not being like a shock to the league, like now they could, defend against whatever because they have tape on him, but also how well does he come back from the injury, right? We haven't seen him throw. We don't know, how strong the arm is, or, if he's going to still have the same intangibles as far as accuracy and all that kind of stuff that he was able to show. But yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at the list. I don't think that, you listed the people above the people that were behind him. I think all of those people are unproven or were injured or haven't, are kind of hit or miss as well. I think if you just base this off of last season, which I'm assuming that's what they're doing it off of, I could see him coming in at 12.
Yeah, they have it as it's power rankings. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I gotta imagine power rankings are like, what have you done for me lately? So I totally understand that. My thought about Jimmy Garoppolo, I always said, he's firmly between 17 and 22. There are times when he's playing his best football that he plays like a top 12 guy. It was my statement on Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think that was fair. I mean, there were
Mm-hmm.
times when he played really good football and he played like a top 12 guy, but who he ultimately was 17 to 22. And I do think that Brock Purdy, for that stint, although a small stint, definitely played as good or better than Jimmy ever did. And
Mhm.
so I could see why on a power rankings you would say something like that. I think when I just look at quarterback play in the NFL overall, I think there's 7, maybe 8 guys that you could really hitch your franchise to and say, hey, this is a franchise quarterback that is going to go and win regardless of what's going on around him. He's always going to have your team in a competitive standpoint. And then there are guys that once you get past that, I mean, it's interchangeable every year. Every year. I mean, there are years where you could say Dak is top 7, top 8, top 9 guy. Then there are years where you're like, I don't know, he's like 15th best. Same thing with
Mhm.
Kirk Cousins. He's one of those guys that could be anywhere from 10 to 20 in that given year. And so I think regardless of where you have the Kirk Cousins, the Brock Purdy's, the Goffs, the Genos, the Daniel Jones, I think that they're all kind of interchangeable depending on what you've seen from them lately, at least for now. I think if you're making a quarterback ranking, though, overall, it's hard for me to put somebody like Brock Purdy, who has that small sample size, although a really good sample size, ahead of somebody like Jared Goff, for example, who has been a multiple time Pro Bowler with different teams, has been to a Super Bowl, and has just put up pretty decent numbers in multiple years in his career, not just a 7-game stint. Geno
Right.
Smith is a lot like Brock Purdy, although it was for a full season. So I don't really fall in love with him or Daniel Jones or Tua. I think if Stafford's healthy, he should be higher. But I think the list overall had some flaws. They had Bryce Young at 21. Bryce Young hasn't even played an NFL snap. Now, we
Right.
think he's going to be good, but there's no guarantee. He hasn't played yet. So I don't know. I think Brock Purdy at 12, if what we saw last year is who he's going to be, and there's still some slight room for improvement there, and he gets better, I could see him firmly being, anywhere between 9 and 15 every year. But that's a lot of assumption based off a small sample size. I can't say he's a top 12 quarterback yet. It's way too early for all of that. And like I said, when you have rookies on this list ahead of veterans, you had who did they have? They had Bryce Young ahead of Derek Carr.
Hmm.
Listen, I know Derek Carr sometimes plays really bad football, but Derek Carr also could be a top 12 guy.
Yeah.
And there are seasons he's put up top 10, top 12 quarterback play. You have him below a guy who hasn't even played a snap in the NFL. That's a pretty big projection. So I just think the list as a whole had a lot of flaws in it, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I remember a similar list coming out last year, and they had, I think they had Jimmy and Trey both on the list, and Trey wasn't even top 32 or something. They had a list where, and then Jimmy was like 20 or something, and
But that's fair. That's fair. Like having Trey Lance, who hadn't really started yet in the NFL, that low, sure. Like he should be. He was like 32 or 33 years. I'm fine with that. And the rookies all should be at the back end. Brock Purdy with a small sample size, although a good sample size should probably be closer to like 15 through 19 ish. I don't know. It's not that much of a move, but I feel like it's a little early to be ranking Brock Purdy in the top 12 or these rookies in the top 20. I think that's a little too early for me.
sure.
Gammon says, hypothetical question. If the 49ers and Eagles played 10 games straight, neutral location, geez, what would be the 49ers win loss and why? Thank you. I would, man, that's tough. 49ers and Eagles that's such a closely contested game and two really good teams. I would probably pick the Eagles to win 6 out of 10 of those games, but I could see a 50-50 or 6-10 the other way. I think it's that close between those two. What do you think?
Yeah, I would call it 5. I would say 5-5. Um, obviously you're an Eagles fan based off of
right,
everything
right. Yeah, yeah.
you've said and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's so hard to project, right? Because those teams are, I think, the class of the NFC. You look at that first half of the first quarter where Purdy was actually healthy, And I think that the team was doing some good things against it. I think that the defense was holding up, until they just realized that there was nothing else that they could do. But you look at, I really think that I would go 5-5 right now, but it's so hard. I think and the budding rivalry to me is going to make it even more. I mean, you're seeing what Debo's saying about the Eagles. Obviously, that's probably a sentiment throughout the whole team. The fan bases are getting into it. I mean, that'd be such a crazy rivalry. I would love to see it. I mean, we were all excited about that game because we thought it was going to be one of the best games in history, and unfortunately, it didn't go the way that we wanted to as NFL fans. But especially, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, that would be hard to say. I would say, but he said and why. So I think that quarterback, offensive line, and secondary, I would give to the Eagles. Receivers, I think, is a push. Running backs, I think we have better running backs. I think McCaffrey over Swift, and then Elijah Mitchell over Gainwell. Linebackers, I think we're better. And defensive line, I'm going to go with we're better because we have proven guys on our defensive line where the Eagles are still going off of potential. We just took, people don't realize, we just took their best defensive lineman from last season, and he's now on our team. So all the guys
they still had their 3 guys last year from that same defensive line that had 10+ sacks. Let's not act like we just depleted them completely.
Well, but what I'm saying is
that's not including Cox. That's not even including Cox.
Yeah,
or any of those rookies.
I still believe that the 49ers defensive line, if you just go starters versus starters, are more proven than their defensive line. So I give the edge. I'm not saying it's dominant, but I would edge. I don't think you take the list of the defensive linemen. I would put Bosa at 1, right? Do they have anybody better than Bosa?
No.
Do they have anybody better than Hargrave?
It depends. I mean, Hargrave's only gone over double-digit sacks one time in his career, and that was at 30 years old or however old he is. I mean, I don't know. It depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking all around? It's tough because I feel like Cox is really good. His sack totals aren't super high ever, but he's been elite in this league for many, many years. You had Hassan Reddick with 17 sacks last year. You have Sweat. They have 4 guys that legit could get you 10 sacks. And that's not including any of the 3 Georgia boys that they drafted last year and this year. That's not even. I'm not even starting to bank on those guys yet.
Who are the 4 guys that you think that? Who are the 4 guys?
Let me pull up their roster because I always forget one guy.
I know Riddick could get you 10. Sweat.
Well, Reddick does get you 10.
For sure. The thing about it is also a lot of
Brandon Graham,
Fire.
Josh Sweat, Fletcher Cox, and then Reddick.
Cox isn't getting you 10 every single year anymore.
Not every year, but we can't bank on Hargrave to get you 10 either. He's only done it once in his career. So banking on him to go over 10. I'm just saying guys that can get you 10. Guys that can break into 10. If they got 10, you'd be like, okay, I could see it. So to me, they've got 4 guys that can get you 10. We have 2. I guess 3. Armstead can get you 10. He's done it 1 year. We have 3 guys, they have 4. And then we have a complete unknown as our last starter on the defensive line. At least they have 4 guys that you can say, hey, they've done something in this league pretty
Once
good.
Again, productive. Chat.
Eagles fan
over here, Jesse. I'm over here
trying
to
get my Eagles. Actually, this is a green screen. I'm going to pull it down, and I got all the Eagles stuff behind me.
Yeah. Well, I still think that it's pretty even. I mean, if you go through a list of just best players, top 10 players in the out of those 2 teams, you put top 10 players from those 2 teams. I think it's pretty evenly matched as far as 5 probably 49ers are going to be in there, 5 Eagles are going to be in there, which is why I still think it'd be even head to head because of the talent.
Yeah.
So
the reason I would lean 6. So if the Eagles and 49ers played 10 games on a neutral site, everybody healthy, I would lean Eagles 6-4 And the big reason is because the two most important positions or position groups in the NFL, in my opinion, are quarterback and protecting the quarterback. And the Eagles are clearly better at the quarterback position. They've got a top 7, top 8 guy at this point, and they are clearly better on the offensive line. Arguably the best in the league, if not clearly the best in the league. So when you have a top 8 guy at the most important position, we don't even know who our starter is going to be. And then they have arguably the best offensive line on top of that. I got to give them the edge because, like you said, you look at wide receivers, pretty close. We definitely have more offensive weapons. Defensive line, I mean, that's very close as well. They probably have the depth. We might have the starters. Secondary, both secondaries are good. Our linebackers are clearly better. I mean, there's not even an argument there. But, I mean, sure, we have areas we're better. They have areas they're better. I just think when you're drafting, you're not drafting linebackers top 2. If you have a top 2 pick, you're not like, I'm going to take the best linebacker. You're like, I'm going to take the best quarterback, or I'm going to protect the best quarterback. That's what you're going to do. And they're the best in those things. So for me, I would have to give them the edge.
One thing that I do think we have over them is coaching as well, right? Their whole coaching staff.
For sure.
So I think that plays a big role. And,
definitely,
obviously, kicker. We're going to have the best kicker, right? So, that to me, that kind of puts us over. So I'm edging it actually to 49ers based off of all my arguments and more.
That's fair. Packers fan says, yo, I'm new here, just subscribed. I appreciate it. But oddly enough, we have a Packers-ish topic coming up next. You might not stay subscribed. We'll see. But I appreciate it. It was fun while it lasted either way. I do appreciate it. The coach tapping in. What's up, coach? Says enjoying the show, just showing support. Appreciate you,
hey,
coach.
Can I shout out Coach? I saw some of your stuff on Grant's channel. I've never met you, never talked to you, man, but I did want to give you props because some of your breakdowns about the draft, some of the players, the undrafted free agents, and some of the picks that they made, top notch, bro. I really enjoyed your content.
Yeah, he definitely. I think you talk about the one where he's talking about like the undrafted free agents and stuff?
He talked about, I think I saw him talk about Cameron Latu and then Joey, is it Joey Fisher? Joey, the undrafted lineman.
The undrafted tackle. Yeah.
Yeah,
no, he did a really good job. He did his homework on that. Did a really good job,
you
especially
missed
with Joey Fisher. I agree.
I think you missed the super chat.
Did I?
The first super chat was like.
It seems likely. Hold on. I quickly scrolling through. I saw somebody say, "Fly, Jesse, fly."
Yeah.
Fly, Eagles. No, that makes me sick. Actually, I can't do it. Gammon, we got hypothetical question. I don't know if
I think it was something about doing quarterback.
Oh! Please do QB tiers right now. Oh God. By the way, I think a tier list is definitely better than doing rankings because it's really, really hard. I don't know about tier list right now. That's tough.
I could tell you Patrick Mahomes is number 1.
I'll tell you I have Josh Allen ahead of Joe Burrow, though. That I'll say comfortably. And I think a lot of people would disagree with that. So I'm a big Josh Allen guy. Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. I would probably have. It's tough. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, Herbert, Lamar Jackson, they're all right there, I think, in a tier. I would say Patrick Mahomes is in tier 1. Tier 2 would be
Allen,
Burrow and Allen. And then tier 3 would be Jackson, Rodgers, and Herbert, I think is fair. Maybe you could throw Hurts in there. Tier 4, I mean, you're probably talking about Lawrence, Dak, Watson. It's tough, man. Russ, I would say, would probably be tier 4. But, who knows? Who knows if Russ is
We'd have to really look at it. That might be a good topic to keep in our back pocket. Do some
that would be. That would be. And, I would say after that, you're probably looking at a lot of guys that are the same. You're looking at
Kyler Murray needs to be somewhere in there. I don't know.
I would put him in the Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr, Jared
Geno?
Goff tier. Geno, I would probably put in the next tier with Purdy just because, kind of unknown. With Daniel Jones and Tua, I would kind of throw them in the same tier because they all have small sample sizes. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, that's probably off the top of my head. That's where I would go.
Out of the rookies that were drafted, who's going to be the best?
I had CJ Stroud. So I watched 3 games for each of them, all 22. Took a copious amounts of notes. CJ Stroud to me, I had him, Anthony Richardson closely behind, and then I had
Bryce.
Young, but it's not a big separation at all. It's not a big separation at all. They're all very, very good. That was just the order that I had him in. And then I had Will Levis like way, way, way behind the other 3. And I didn't look past Will Levis, so I don't know if I would have had anybody ranked above him, but I mean, I had him distant, and it seems like the NFL did as well. They agreed with that one. Because
I have a fantasy quarterback out of them. I think Anthony Richardson is going to be
for sure.
best.
Fantasy, yeah.
A dynasty league, you picking Anthony Richardson as the first pick. As far as career, like who's going to win the most, because that's going to be based off of situation and organization, all that kind of stuff. My dark horse is Hendon Hooker. I think Hendon Hooker with the Lions, he probably won't play this season, but possibly end of this season, maybe possibly next season. I think the type of player he is with what that team has been building, I could see him winning a lot in the league based off of his situation.
I'll throw you a dark horse, and he's in our own division. And he's Clayton Tune, man. He's the one. And with Kyler Murray there, we'll see how long that lasts. If Clayton Tune plays well and can kind of be the guy and be really mature, and Kyler costs a lot, I don't know. We'll
I have no faith in that coach, first of all. But
no, I don't either. I don't.
I have it from very, very good authority that the Cardinals tried to trade Kyler Murray, and it didn't work out. So I know they're not fully sold on Kyler Murray.
It doesn't surprise me at all. Daniel said, well, first of all, we know they weren't fully sold on Kyler Murray because it took them forever to pay him. They put in weird stipulations in his contract, so there we go. And his ex-teammates coming out very quickly to throw him under the bus, so that doesn't surprise me. Daniel says, ranking head coaches in the league right now, where would you place Kyle Shanahan? What's up with you guys, like,
ranking
tier lists and whatever?
Do we look like Nick Wright?
Yeah, seriously.
I got him
6
top
or 7.
Yeah, I got him top 7.
Yeah.
Who's your top coach?
Right now?
Yeah. Mine's hands down Andy Reid.
Yeah, right now I would say Andy Reid, but then I would have to guys that have Super Bowl rings, I would still have to put above them, just to be fair. I mean, Pete Carroll, the hoodie.
Over Andy Reid?
No, not over Andy Reid. I'm saying Kyle Shanahan. Yeah, Andy Reid I think is the best coach. Yes, right now he is.
I think that Andy Reid, depending on how long he stays coaching, is going to go down as better than Belichick.
He might. He's
because he's done more. Belichick's only success has been with Tom Brady in New England. Andy Reid has had success with the Eagles. Didn't win a Super Bowl, but what he did with the Eagles is much better than what Belichick has done with his head coaching jobs with other teams. And I think he could win. He could, get up to 4 or 5 rings with the team he has right now. So,
yeah, Kyle 6 or 7. I would rank him behind all the guys with the ring for sure. Most of the guys, and then he's right.
He wins the Super Bowl. He moves up to top 5,
3, top 3 probably. 3 possibly. I mean, realistically, who would you have? Especially right now, Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan would be right there. Belichick's losing, man. I don't.
Well, that's what are we talking about? Are we talking about just like overall, or just like? So if it's overall, he has a big Belichick.
For sure.
But if it's just like, if you're starting a team today, which coach do you want? Yeah. I would. If he wins a Super Bowl, he would be right after Andy Reid. Might even be above Andy Reid, depending on who gets Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, absolutely. Is Tommy out there blocking people? Tommy, quit blocking people unless they get personal, man. People know the rules around here. I am fine with banter. I am fine with discourse. I am more than fine with disagreement. Definitely disagreement is encouraged. But once you start getting personal with people, that's where I draw the line. Don't challenge the take, not the person. That's the rule. As long as you keep it to that, I'm good to go.
Speaking of disagreement, great segue into the next topic.
Yeah, let's talk about that, and let's see if the Packers fan sticks around after this one. So, Colin Cowherd came out and he was talking about Jordan Love and where he ranks in the league, and the co-host was throwing out a bunch of different quarterbacks, and he's like, yeah, maybe he's as good as this guy or better than this guy, but when he said Trey Lance, oh man, he couldn't be happier to say that Jordan Love is clearly better than Trey Lance. I found this interesting. I'm going to take this one first. So Jordan Love might be better than Lance. Okay. But just like we were talking about with this quarterback power ranking, it is so hard to rank guys that just haven't done anything yet or have done very little. And based off the sample sizes, Love didn't play at all his first year, if I'm not mistaken. And when you take his stats of the small sample size that he has versus the stats of Trey Lance in the small sample size, Trey Lance might have better stats. So I don't know how you can say that Love is clearly better than Trey Lance. I don't know how you make that argument. Really, to me, when you have guys that haven't done anything yet, you have to look at what you thought of them as a prospect. And coming out, I don't know anybody as a prospect that would say that Love was even close to the same level of prospect that Lance was. Now, that doesn't mean that Lance is going to be better. There's a lot of things that happen, injuries, whatever. But we're talking about two guys who uniquely have spent multiple years in the league and to this point don't really have much under their belt. So to say that one is clearly better than the other, I thought that was wild. Not surprising coming from Colin Cowherd, who clearly has a vendetta against Lance, who may have dated his daughter allegedly. We don't know what happened there. I just think that that's a really, really outlandish take, in my opinion. Based off of what? What's he clearly better at to this point? What has he proven? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, this, I think, obviously you mentioned the whole might have dated his daughter. If you watch Colin Cowherd's show regularly, whenever he talks about the 49ers, he has been adamant, whether it's Jimmy, Purdy, like everybody's better than Lance. I don't think he thinks that Lance is better than anybody, to be honest. And it's interesting because Nick Wright will go on that show when they're talking about it, and Nick will be defending Trey Lance, and and Colin is very anti Trey Lance. So, I think it doesn't. It's an emotional take. It's not based out of any reality or logic or based off of anything, because I think Trey Lance probably has more wins as a starter in the league than Jordan Love has. I don't know how many times Jordan Love started or how many wins he has.
He only has one start, I think.
Yeah, and I don't even know if they won it. Sure. Yeah, so Trey has at least won twice, right? Twice in the league as a starter, or once, I don't know. But
technically has 2 wins because he started against Seattle, but he's really 1 and 2. I mean, if you games he started and finished.
Okay. So, yeah, and I mean, to say that he's clearly better, I don't know. Like I said, I think Cowher is very emotional towards Trey Lance for whatever reason, or he's gotten some really bad information about Trey Lance that he's sticking to and, continues to take all of his or use that evidence for all of his takes when it comes to Trey Lance. So I found it
what's interesting is the switch, because before the draft and going into that process, if you go watch videos of Colin Cowherd, he was all in on Trey Lance, sold to the moon that Trey Lance was a great kid and he was smart and he had all the athletic ability and he was going to be great in the NFL. And then something happened there on the personal level where, and I mean, he basically said it was personal. There was something along the lines where he came out and said, what did he say? He was saying that he will call somebody a bad person even if they just died, basically. But that was his comparison when talking about Trey Lance. So basically, he called Trey Lance a really bad person, and deservedly so, because regardless of what's going on, he has the right to say it. And it's like, I mean, now he's not only not a good football player, but he's just a bad person based off of what?
Right.
How is Trey Lance a bad person? I don't know. This is crazy.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's interesting. Brand new. Hold on, let's see if I can pull it up.
I see it. You can't see it? Jesse's freezing.
All right, am I still here? You still here?
Yeah, I could hear you, but you're frozen.
There we go. Goodness sakes. I think my internet was going out on me or something. Or still is. Goodness.
Yeah.
All right.
But we could hear you. I'll read it. It says Rams fan here. I rock with Jesse. Play the kid.
I can't hear Sunil. You guys let me know. Is it? Oh. What is going on here?
I could see you and hear you now.
All right, let's try that. Am I back?
I think so.
Okay. Goodness sakes. Was I frozen?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah, it said that you were frozen. Then I don't know what's going on. I just connected to Wi-Fi. I'm like hardwired in, so I don't know how that happened. Either way, brand new says Rams fan here, but I rock with Jesse. Play the kid. Appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. I love that people from other teams come and show love. Nee says, can we talk about the biggest elephant in the room today? George Kittle bought Trey a birthday cake. What does that mean for Purdy?
That's great.
That cake was trash. I'm not gonna lie. It had like macaroons on it, and what was that? That was a horrible cake. Just kidding.
Wow. I put on my Twitter most scrutinized cake ever in the history of 49ers, right? Like everybody's trying to read signs. I think last week somebody was talking about Sam Darnold was at the game with the players and Trey wasn't at the game. So now George Kittle bought him a cake. Oh, maybe George Kittle is creating a relationship with Trey Lance. It's like, oh my God.
Golly.
These guys are teammates.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. Whatever. George Kittle, he obviously has his favorite guys in the locker room. Maybe Trey's one, maybe Trey's not. But he has said good things about Trey, and he definitely, sent Trey or Kittle, instead of sending him a cake, maybe work out with him in the offseason. I think that would go a little bit further than sending him a macaroon personal cake. I'm just going to throw that out there, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's talk about this. And Bobby D brings up a really good point here. He's talking about Ian Rapoport, and he says, Jesse, do we think it's possible that the 49ers only cared what Rapoport said because he effed up his trade value? Why didn't they say anything a month ago? So the thumbnail, it's got Ian Rapoport, says liar, arrow pointing to him. The title of the show is talking about it. This whole thing is really, really interesting. And I'll let you give your take before I give mine, but maybe you can answer this question, Sunil, at the same time as you giving your take. And, Rapoport driving down, quote unquote, the trade value for Trey Lance. Why didn't he say anything a month ago? What do you think of this whole situation? And those who don't know, if you've been living under a rock, we'll break it down. Ian Rapoport, all so smoothly, is hosting the Pat McAfee show while Pat's out with having his first child. And he talked about how when he had made the statement about Sam Darnold potentially being the starter in San Francisco, that the 49ers, not fans, but somebody within that 49ers regime or multiple people reached out to him and pushed back essentially and said, hey, why isn't there any thought about Trey Lance potentially being the guy if Brock Purdy's out? Why is it just Sam Darnold? And they had a little bit of a back and forth. Now, Ian Rapoport didn't bring this up a month ago when he talked about Sam Darnold, or the second time he talked about Sam Darnold, or any of the times when he was talking about Trey Lance being traded, but he did bring it up yesterday or the day before. and basically alluded to it happening back when he had first talked about Sam Darnold. So interesting topic here. Sunil, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I actually like Ian Rapoport. I think, he's one of the better news breakers in the NFL. So, but we got to understand what their business is. Their business isn't only to break news, but also to create storylines, right? They're also paid off of how much business they could draw up, how much interest they could draw up, and how many people are looking to Ian Rapoport over, Adam Schefter, or, so I think it's been clear over the past few years and talked about out in the open that, narratives are created for whatever reason. And I always state the 49ers are the only Super Bowl contending team in as long as I can remember, Jesse, that doesn't have a bona fide starting quarterback that you just know is going to be the starting quarterback. So that's a story that's going to be easily brought up and get a lot of clicks, gain a lot of interest, because that's the most, obviously the most popular position on the team, the most glamorous position on the team. To not have that situated as on a Super Bowl caliber team, that's drama. That's something that you could talk about. So I think those storylines are always created, right? Is it Trey? Is it Jimmy? Now is it Darnold? Is it Jimmy? Is it Purdy? Not Jimmy. Is it Darnold? Is it Trey? Is it Purdy? I think that's always going to be until one, separates themselves from the pack type of thing. So when it comes to Ian Rapoport, I think that, he kind of said it that it was more opinion than actual fact. He's just like, based off of, what we're seeing and the fact that they brought Darnold in and the contract, and we haven't seen anything from Trey, and we've heard that, Purdy is going to be a starter. It just made sense that, Darnold could possibly be there to take the reps while Purdy's getting healthy, and possibly Trey could be traded or whatever the case may be. So the media is very, very good at telling you the truth while still lying. And what I mean by that is omitting facts or spinning it in a way that they have what I call, what's the word? It's called plausible deniability, where it's like the ability to be like, no, that's not what I said. What I said was, so that they could kind of weasel their way out of anything if somebody kind of held their feet to the fire. So I'm big on the 49ers don't leak anything. And we've seen that year after year after year. Like, there's no rumors that usually come out unless like, I don't think they come out from the 49ers. They might come out from players. They might come out from other things. But as far as like, they're very tight-knit and sealed lips. They don't like leaking things to the media. So, yeah, I think it is what it is.
Yeah, I think, and I talked about this. I want to say I talked about this when Ian Rapoport brought up the Sam Darnold thing. It was definitely recently, but it's tough to decipher when you have guys like Adam Schefter and Ian Rapoport. They are the breaking news guys. They're the facts guys. They're the guys that you follow on Twitter or social media, whatever your preference is, and you have their alerts turned on during the draft because you want to know who's drafted before it's announced. They're the guys that when free agency starts, you got their alerts turned on because you want the facts of who's going where, when, and why. But it gets confusing when you have guys like Ian Rapoport and Adam Schefter and whoever reports news all of a sudden giving opinions. And the way that they talk about these opinions sometimes comes off as if it's factual. And maybe that's, fans looking into it one way because we're used to them being the breaking news guys. And so we say, oh, well, they don't just have this opinion. They're insiders. So they're getting this opinion from somewhere. There's no way that Ian Rapoport thinks this highly of Sam Darnold unless somebody in the 49ers organization told him to think this highly of Sam Darnold. And so then the narrative gets spun from, hey, this is just their opinion, which, by the way, they don't usually clarify whether it's an opinion or not. They just state it. And then we've got to decipher, was it an opinion? Was it fact? And then all it takes is a couple people to read it as, well, they obviously heard something from inside the building. And so this opinion is an educated opinion. The team wants this report out there, and this is what's going on. Then what happens is you got Trey Lance is going to get traded all draft, which Ian Rapoport was saying. Now, was that opinion? Was that something he was hearing? I don't know. It's just hard. So when you have these guys that do both, but they're mainly breaking news, factual guys, and then when they start to mix in their opinion, it's hard. It's hard to figure out what's what. And it may not be intentional, although it likely is, because like you said, they want to generate clicks. They want people talking about their content just like we are right now. To me, it's just really hard to figure out what is being reported, what is an educated opinion, and what is just, hey, I'm throwing darts here just like anybody else. I'm just giving my opinion. That's all it is. I think it's really hard to do that. And when they don't clarify, then you have all these narratives running rampant. And like I said, if you look at the timeline, Darnold's going to be the starter. Doesn't even mention Trey Lance. You know, he could be a guy there in San Francisco. Then it's Trey Lance is going to get traded. Even on day 3, he's like, I still think there's a chance that Trey Lance gets traded before the end of this draft. And then as soon as the draft is over, it's like, I think Trey Lance is going to get traded before the beginning of the season. It's like, dude,
you keep moving the goalposts.
Is this your opinion? Are you hearing something? Where is this coming from? So I don't know, man. It's hard to know what's going on with some of these guys.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, obviously the media is going to do what the media is going to do, and whether it's right or wrong, you could debate that. But, you know, the 49ers kind of bring this on themselves, right? They're the ones that could easily, you know, kind of nip all this in the bud, which to a certain extent they have, right? They've made it very clear Purdy's number one, or leader in the locker room, whatever way you want to put it. And then I think it's pretty clear. They said Trey and Darnold are going to be splitting first reps, but from what Shanahan has said, what Lynch has said, Trey Lance has every opportunity to be the starter and win the starting job, and has to earn it and has to prove to them. I think they've been pretty clear with it, but I also don't think the thing I think that was most interesting to me, Jesse, is the 49ers usually don't care about what narratives the media take, right? Whether it was Mac Jones at number 3 or whatever has been going on about the 49ers. Shanahan has been very clear, like he's not going to get in the way of the media being wrong. The thing that to me is the most interesting is the 49ers went out of their way to tell Adam Schefter, stop doing this, which to me, if you're reading it, means that they do believe in Trey, and they don't want this narrative being created that Trey isn't the guy that they believe in. Otherwise, they would have just left it. And, you know, they don't care about this kind of stuff, right? They usually don't care about if the media is right or if the media is wrong. They just kind of do whatever. They just care about what's going on in the building. The fact that Adam Schefter kind of mentioned that guys, and he made it clear, guys in the organization reached out to him and said, hey, stop doing that, means that maybe there is a stronger belief in Trey Lance versus what even they might be mentioning, letting us know about as well.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I think a lot of people speculated as well. To me, at least the way that I heard Ian Rapoport say it, is this wasn't a new thing. They didn't just reach out to him like yesterday and say, hey, cut it out. They reached out to him when he first started talking about it, and he's just now in passing brought it up, is the way that I read this situation. I think a lot of people are reading it as, okay, the 49ers were unable to trade Trey Lance. Now they're either trying to trade Trey Lance, or they saw him side by side in OTAs and are like, oh, wow, Trey has improved a ton. He's way better than Darnold. We were wrong. And so now they're trying to walk it back. I didn't take it like either one of those things. I personally took it as they said it when he talked about Sam Darnold about a month ago, and he's just now talking about it in passing in the middle of a show versus being a guest on the show and having a purpose to say things. And that's the way I took it. Did you take it like that? Or did you take it as the 49ers recently reached out and were like, hey, cut it out?
Yeah, I think it was more what you mentioned. I think that this has always been kind of pushed back right from the jump. I don't think it was just now they're saying don't say that, because at the end of the day, like, what can they say now? It's not like they can do anything now. I think it was more back then.
Yeah, absolutely. Sean says it's all about 2021 fake out with the media, Lance instead of Jones. Let's be smart and allow Trey to develop into his purpose. Yeah, although I will say Ian Rapoport is one of the few that at least before the draft started came out and said, hey, really sounds like it's down to Trey Lance and Mac Jones. So whether it took him a month to arrive at that conclusion, he did have it right. And that, Kyle Shanahan later did confirm that was who the choice was between. So Ian Rapoport is right a lot more than he's wrong. This isn't a shot at Ian Rapoport, the reporter. This is more of a shot at Ian Rapoport, the opiner, which is very, very different and confusing when you are a reporter to have an opinion and then not decipher if it's opinion or it's fact. I think that's where the issue lies. So we'll see. I mean, I don't take it like that. No, Ryan, we're not going to sing happy birthday to Trey Lance, but I appreciate it. Mike says, Jesse, do you think Joey will make the starting O-line? I don't know about starting. I think he's going to have an uphill battle to make the team. I think that's going to be tough. And which undrafted free agent outside of Fisher do you like best? Isaiah Winstead, I mean, 6'3", had a 1,000-yard season in college his senior year. This is Jennings. I've been saying it for a while. I think this is Jennings' last year, the 49ers. They're going to be looking for a replacement. Maybe Winstead can be that guy. I mean, there's multiple guys that could be that guy, but Winstead definitely could fit that mold. 6'3" is always intriguing, and he has production in college. I think you got to like that for sure. So that's probably the most intriguing one to me. Gammon says, Burrow over Allen, please recant your statement. No, definitely not. Definitely not going to do that. If I took two mediocre teams and said, Allen or Burrow, who do you want? I don't know how you say Burrow. I mean,
I'd say Burrow.
Josh Allen. What does Burrow do better than Josh Allen?
Win.
Okay. That doesn't translate to two mediocre teams. He has arguably the best weaponry in football. Of course he's winning. Cool.
Like, you asked me what he does
better.
Better.
Receiving core in football.
He you really asked me what he does better.
He has a better. Right now, he has a better offensive line. The Bills' offensive line is trash.
Winners win.
Okay, well then Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Josh Allen.
Hey, you can make an argument. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just saying wherever Burrow has gone, he's made that team better. Now you could say obviously talent matters, right? But he made LSU into what LSU was, and he takes top tier talent and breaks records with it. Now obviously Cincinnati's weaponry is good, really good, but it's not like Buffalo doesn't have weapons. Like, I think that's one of the biggest like false narratives is that like Joe Burrow has been dealing with what Lamar Jackson has been dealing with his whole career. Like, Stephon Diggs is one of the has been top 10 receiver for how many years has he been amazing?
And who's there outside of that? Trash.
I don't think, but that's what I'm saying. Whatever. Like, does he have as much as Joe Burrow? No, he doesn't have as much as Joe Burrow. But to act like he doesn't, it's trash. I don't think it's been trash. I think his other receivers are not like big names, but they're not trash. Gabriel Davis has had big seasons, I think. And that's what I'm saying. Like, your goal is to make Joe.
I don't know if Gabe Davis is a top 36 receiver in the NFL.
Sure, he's not. But I also think that to keep mentioning that he doesn't have weapons is something that I think is just the narrative behind why he doesn't win. He has a better defense than Joe Burrow's ever had on his team. He's had and offensive weapons. Yeah, Joe Burrow has better weapons, but Joe Burrow's won. Joe Burrow's beat Kansas City. Joe Burrow's been to the Super Bowl.
But
It's
he
always
doesn't
an
have a
excuse
Super Bowl.
for
It's
Josh
not like he
Allen.
won a Super Bowl.
True, but he's gone farther than Allen has.
Yeah, but what more could Allen, like, okay, the year that they lost to Kansas City 2 years ago, what more could Allen have done? That was arguably the best playoff run ever by a quarterback for a 2 or 3 games, or however many games he had. What more could he have done? It's insane.
But what was Joe Burrow not playing at a high level that
not that
playoffs?
level
Okay.
He wasn't.
That's arguable, but
Is it?
He did beat Kansas City that same year. You're making it seem like Joe Burrow's out here not throwing touchdowns, throwing a whole bunch of interceptions. Huh?
I just don't think I don't think quarterback wins is a stat. So like, it's really hard.
I agree, but
unless we're going to keep this blanket all over the place.
I was just kidding about he wins. Joe Burrow is more accurate than Josh Allen. I think Joe Burrow and Josh Allen. Josh Allen probably has a stronger arm, but I don't think he can make any throw that Joe Burrow can't make, kind of thing. And mobility, obviously, Josh Allen over Joe Burrow, but I don't think it's as wide as what you're saying. Like,
I don't think it's wide. No. Now let's be fair. I put
you
them
said
in the
clearly,
same
and you said that with your chest.
To me, it is. I mean, I put them in the same tier. I'm just saying, what does Burrow do better than Josh Allen? If it's wins and accuracy, okay, he's slightly more accurate when it comes to completion percentage. He wins more. Great. I neither have a Super Bowl. And Josh Allen is better everywhere else. He's bigger, he's stronger, he's faster, he's got a better arm. He's asked to do more. Out of all the quarterbacks in the NFL, he's had, and I just looked at this like 2 months ago and put the stat together. I think I've got it on the second channel. You can go watch the second channel, in fact, and you can get the exact number there. But I want to say over the last 3 seasons, Josh Allen accounts for 78% of Buffalo's touchdowns through the run and pass game, which is more than any other quarterback by a pretty wide margin. Josh Allen is expected to do the most. He almost is their leading rusher every year.
More than Lamar Jackson?
Yes. More than Lamar Jackson, more than even Justin Fields last year. More than Mahomes, more than Burrow, more than everybody. He's number one. He's asked to do more than any other player. You know, he actually has more rushing touchdowns over that span. You know, the year that Jackson won the MVP, I'm pretty sure Josh Allen had more rushing touchdowns that year.
How many were under 5 yards? All of them?
Josh Allen, if he wanted to, could rush for 1,000 yards in this league and throw for 5,000. I don't think I can say that about any other quarterback in the NFL. In fact, I can't say that about any other quarterback in the NFL. You name one other player in this league that if they rushed for 1,000 one season and threw for 5,000 the next, that you'd be like, yeah, I could see that. Josh Allen's he's one of one. He is one of one. He's a transformer. I don't know if he'll throw for 5,000. Maybe. I don't know, man. Josh Allen's a unicorn. He's incredible. And Burrow's good. Burrow's really good, but I'm just saying, I'm taking Josh Allen.
I think Josh Allen makes a lot of mistakes, throws a lot of interceptions, turns the ball over a lot more than Joe Burrow does. But this is all feelings over facts.
It's because he's asked to do more. And let's also talk about this. When he started to turn the ball over a lot last year, it's because he had a hurt UCL. Buffalo didn't want him to play last year with that hurt UCL. He had the same exact thing happen to him that Purdy had happen to him. Fortunately for him, he didn't get his arm shredded when it happened, but he was injured. There might have been a slight tear in there, and he stayed and he played the week after and through the rest of the season. Probably shouldn't have, because you saw all of a sudden there was a clear drop-off in his play. But Josh Allen, man, dude, I don't know. I just think Josh Allen is the second best quarterback in the league. And when he's at his best, he might be the best player in the NFL. He's incredible. Flave says, it's interesting. You say we need the number 1 seed to give ourselves the best shot to win a Super Bowl, but also that Trey is likely to lose games early in the year. Wouldn't that hurt our chances at number 1? I think that the 49ers are likely to lose games early in the year. That's what they always do. To give yourself the best chance, you definitely need the number 1 seed. You don't have to have the number 1 seed to go to the Super Bowl. I think I'm also under the impression that if Trey Lance is given a full season, week 1 Trey Lance is a lot different than week 18 Trey Lance. And I would be willing to take that step back to have the better player or the best quarterback going into the playoffs that we can have over having the number 1 seed. And if I feel like that's Trey Lance or potentially could be Trey Lance, then I'm going to rock with that. Tommy says, Jesse is in Josh Allen's stands anonymous. Hey, you're not lying there. I'm a Josh Allen guy. I was a Josh Allen guy before the draft. I was Josh Allen guy the first 2 years and ate shit for 2 years when people said I was an idiot. And I'm still a Josh Allen guy. Ryan became a new. What's up, Ryan? I appreciate you, man. That's awesome. RS says Purdy is better than both QBs. Kruger. Oh man, I'm gonna be on Kruger's show Thursday, but that's actually really, really funny. Flav says QB wins isn't a stat, but clearly winning is something that separates quarterbacks. Cousins and Dak would be viewed a lot differently if they won, and you can't consistently win with bad quarterback play. Yeah, you can't consistently win, but you can win with bad quarterback play or mediocre quarterback play for sure. Not bad quarterback play. You can win in the regular season with bad quarterback play. You're not going to win a lot in the playoffs with bad quarterback play. Although Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, talk about Exhibit A. That guy was one of the worst playoff quarterbacks in NFL history, and the 49ers did just fine. Although they couldn't win a Super Bowl, they overcame a lot with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I know that's your guy, Flav, but I actually think you do believe QB wins is a stat because you were big on Jimmy Garoppolo for a long time, and you pointed to his playoff wins as a big reason why. So I don't know if I necessarily believe that you don't think that it's a stat, but sure. Josh Allen's overrated. Okay. So at worst, we're saying, and everybody in this chat is probably saying a top 3 quarterback. Where's he rated? Yafi, where do you have Josh Allen? And if it's not 3, you're getting blocked. No, I'm just kidding. But I am curious to see what you think Josh Allen is and where he's should be rated. Because if you say he's 4th, I mean, is that overrated? I don't know. I'm curious to see. And if you don't have him top 3, I really got to question your judgment because Josh Allen is that dude. All right, let's make sure I didn't miss anything. I think we're good to go. All right, that's it. Dude, good show. Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's what I do here, bro.
Josh, yeah, you bring it. Josh Allen is top 5. Josh Allen's a stud. Okay, we're signing off on this one. We're signing off on this one. Hold on. Actually, here, let's do this real quick, just for fun. I'm gonna go pull this up real quick. Let's see.
Y'all got Jesse triggered.
Yeah, definitely got me triggered on this one. I'm not here for the BS. He said playoff Josh Allen is the same as Kirk Cousins. You ready for this? 2021 playoffs. Josh Allen went for here it is. In the 2 games he played, threw for 600 in 2 games, by the way, threw for 637 yards with a 77% completion, 9 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, rushed for 134 yards. What? How do you play better? Like, how do you play better? 77% completion and 320 something yards a game and rushing for 70 yards a game. and 9 touchdowns to 0 intercept. You realize that not 9 touchdowns, I believe, is more than Jimmy Garoppolo has in like 7 career playoff starts or 6 career playoff starts. Come on, man. Come on. What more could he have done? What more could he have done? Anyways, I could argue for Josh Allen all day long. He's hella good. Thank you. Missed my earlier one about Trey. Did I? Let me see, Flav. Let me see what I missed. What kind of Trey hate are you delivering today? Let's see. Hold on. I don't think I missed it. Did I? I'm pretty far back at this point. I did read one about Trey where you had talked about starting slow. Yeah, I don't see one, Flav. I don't know which one you're talking about. I apologize if I missed it, but I don't see another one. So, not sure. All right, y'all. That's the end of the show. I'll be back tomorrow with Grant. Might do a call-in show before that. And then Thursday, I'll be on with Larry. So I appreciate y'all. Sunil, thank you. As always, we'll see each other next week. Peace.